Peace. Peace, y'all. They don't plan on ending any of this. Not part of the plan. It just keeps on getting more and more convoluted. What am I talking about? I'm talking about COVID, the vaccines, the polarization, which I think was started with Donald Trump's administration. I'm not comfortable blaming him, but I'm much more comfortable in blaming the people that took a side the way that they did. And once I realized that my rhetoric was, quote unquote, picking a side, that's when I stopped and I thought about the role that I was playing in all of this and all of this madness. I don't think they plan on ending this. I believe that we're in the middle of medical warfare. Some people label me a conspiracy theorist. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of these conspiracies have been proven true. Minister Louis Farrakhan said that war, this is a declaration of war as far as this push for the vaccine. Now, I'm not saying that every conspiracy is true, but enough of them have come to fruition that we should be able to comfortably question anything that we're taught, that is pushed down our throats, that is advertised to us. From the very beginning, the fact that 0.2% of people who contract this virus were liable to die, from the very beginning, I thought that the response was very heavy-handed. Over 75% of the people who died because of COVID, over 75% were obese. The fact that methods for us to boost our immune system were never talked about, I thought was a big red flag. And I guess it's par for the course when it comes to this country and the pharmaceutical companies that have their hands in stuff. They've never been interested in our health. Since when? And you know what? For me, again, like I said, just at a minimum, none of this ever made sense to me. Segue. I'm watching a video about the lockdowns, the extreme lockdowns in Australia right now, which is a country of almost 29 million people. And I can't remember exactly what this 400 number was attributed to. I can't remember whether it was attributed to the total number of COVID cases or the number per day. I'm sorry, I should have taken notes. But the overall opinion of at least the Australians that I was watching get interviewed, their opinion is that it's very heavy-handed to the point where you can get arrested for not wearing a mask. You can get arrested for traveling further than 5 kilometers from your home. We'll speak for Sydney anyways. Traveling more than 5 kilometers from your home, you can get arrested for that. Bars and restaurants are closed. And when it comes to people who I see who are really adamant about the vaccine and people taking it, those are the group of people that were absolutely polarized during the last administration. And I said it before and I'll say it again, the Democrats didn't look any better than the Trump supporters that were being criticized because of their zealotry. And here we are. I was having a conversation with someone last night and they were telling me, where's your PhD? Where's your doctor's? Are you a doctor? Do you own a microscope? I don't know. And I was trying to tell him that that's not fair. And I don't remember what the last statement he made to me was, but I realized that when he started to respond to me, I saw that we were starting to run in circles. I'm not interested in running in circles. It doesn't mean that I have to be right, right? It doesn't mean I have to be right about this. I think it just means that a lot of us are not intellectually ready for what's happening right now. I respect my man. I respect him. I do. No reason to disrespect him. I wasn't offended. It's okay to agree to disagree. Peace, Gary. But I think that's what I got from the conversation. But to each his own. If you want to get the vaccine, go get it. If you don't want to get the vaccine, don't get it. I will not treat you differently nor try to make you into the enemy. Either way. Australia. I mean, what qualifies these politicians anyways to make some of the decisions that they're making? A lot of these so-called leaders are leading off of fear. That's no good. It's no good at all. We need courageous souls, more courageous people at the forefront of this. What's going to be necessary, because if we allow them to continue to extend these restrictions, I don't think there will be any limit to what they will enact. So what I think we need is we need large, what's the phrase? We need large exhibitions of subordination. I'm just one guy. I will not comply. Now, if I got to wear my mask inside of a building, I'm not going to do it right away. Call me selfish. But if somebody of authority is, hey, you got to put your mask on, and I got business in that, in that establishment, then I'll put it on, no problem. I'm going to take it off when I leave. Shit, I might take it off before I leave, on my way out the door. We need more examples of subordination. We cannot allow this to continue to roll out, because it'll be to all of our detriment. I make the analogy of the spider web in the corner. That spider builds the web in order to catch its prey. And at one point in this country, the prey was black people and poor whites. But when you don't, this web has been up there for so long at this point that now it's catching everyone and everything. And I think that's the direction we're headed in. How to be a critical thinker. A lot of us don't know how. Similar to a lot of men don't know how to be husbands. A lot of women don't know how to be good wives. But where do we learn it from if we don't have the example next to us or in front of us? We have to go search for that example. We have to go get online. Google is our friend. The internet is a superpower. Google how to be a critical thinker. How to have intelligent conversation. How can we agree to disagree? For example, I was having a conversation with someone I know last night, and if I leave it up to him to tell me a story, if I leave it up to him and I let him tell his story throughout, I will not understand what he's trying to tell me. Why do I say that? I say that because he gets annoyed and he always wants to say to me that I'm the one that's always interrupting. But here's how I interrupt. I interrupt him by saying to him, well, hold on a second, hold, pause. And then I'll ask him a question. Why am I asking him that question? I'm asking him the question because I'm trying to understand and I'm trying to follow along. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I'll tell you what, if I'm trying to be understood and you interrupt me to ask me a question to clarify, none of that offends me. His responses to me, and I explained it to him once before, and he said, I totally get it, but hold on, I'm trying to explain it to you. Bro, did you listen to anything I said? I don't know how much of a good listener. I don't think he's a very good listener. Point being, I had to say to him, every time you tell me that you're going to continue to explain in order for me to understand, I had to tell him, I'm not going to understand, bro, because you're not willing to answer my questions. The reason that I interrupt you is so that I can make sure that I am following. And if you valued that, you would listen to me and honestly try to explain it to me in a language that I can understand. If you can't teach it to a 7-year-old, then you're not doing a good job of teaching. Maybe I can be so innocent sometimes that I can seem like a 7-year-old by asking you the questions, right? But I think it's both in our best interest for both of us to to understand the story or to understand this dialogue. What happened during Nazi Germany? Correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody just complied, right? Everyone just complied. The Second Amendment was written for citizens to be able to defend themselves against domestic and international threats. Was the Constitution flawed in some areas? Absolutely. But in that respect, in respect to the Second Amendment, I don't think it was flawed at all. Because they knew what they were coming from. They were coming from a repressive government. Correct me if I'm wrong, but part of what inspired the Revolutionary War, part of it, was that the King of England was collecting so much in taxes from the residents and citizens of this country that the people here finally had enough. When's the last time you've been over here, King? What do you know about everyday living out here, King? But yet you want to put us into a position that we're supposed to provide for you, and it's unfair to us? I say us because I'm an American. Love my country. I love America. I'm a proud American. I'm just not proud of, I'm not completely proud of its history in some respects. And I love my freedoms. But they're slowly being taken away. Not to mention that I've met some of our leaders. And I feel like I'm way more qualified than some of them. Way more. So excuse me if I don't just bow down and respect one of our so-called leaders' conclusions or opinions and perspectives. I've been thinking for myself for a long time now. And I've been criticized for it. But yet, with everyone that criticizes me from afar, when they get closer and we're able to have a dialogue, an exchange, they leave with a much clearer and better understanding of who and what I am than they ever did before. I had a conversation with someone a while ago, and they were like, Michael, there are some people that don't really like your conversations about women. And my friend agreed that if they were to actually have a conversation with me, they would understand exactly where I'm coming from. And I think it's I don't think it's fair when, just because I don't make the distinction that I'm talking about some women, for these women to assume that I'm talking about all women is pretty fucking dumb. Really stupid. Just like when I give my opinions about Caucasians. For you to know me, if you don't know me, that's one thing. But for you to know me and to assume that I'm criticizing every Caucasian, that's dumb. And I stand by that. That shit is dumb. To get back to it, my friend told me, yeah, they're these people that they don't want to have any conversation with you. I said, well, that's their loss. I mean, I'm more than willing to have a conversation, as long as it's about clearing up any confusion. But they don't want to have a conversation with me. Their loss. I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna keep building the way that I build, on the topics that I build on, and I still have plenty of people, acquaintances and friends, who understand that I'm not being offensive. I asked the question, where am I lying? Where am I being hateful? Some of my perspectives as far as LGBTQ is concerned. Show me where I'm being hateful. I know homosexuals. I dare any of you to ask those homosexuals whether they think I've ever been hateful or treated them differently, or viewed them as lesser than. I challenge you to find those who have actually walked and talked with me. Because as soon as you call me homophobic because of a particular stance that I have, I shut the conversation down. Sign language is called. Shame, insults, guilt trips, and the need to be right. I recognize that for what it is, and it can apply to men and women. It can apply to anyone. Sign language. You try to shame me, you try to insult me, you try to guilt me, make me feel guilty, and you have the need. You need to be right. You need to be right. Even if I agree with you, you still have to find a need to be right. I've gotten so much better over the years of just being like, okay, bro, as long as you ain't harming nobody or anything like that, that's cool, man. Just, you know. Many of us look into Australia. Look at what's going on there. I'm going to share a post from one of the gods earlier of this gentleman who interviewed various Australians. Jeez, 2 sentences in a row. Interviewed various Australians to get the perspective of what is actually going on over there, and it's eye-opening. Because we're not that far away from these repressive policies from being enacted here. So, 0.2% of the population, 0.2% of the people that contract COVID die. 0.2. 0.2. That means everybody else recovers. Now, I've never said that COVID was fake. I never said it was fake. I knew it was real. I know it is real. I'm just also aware that this is the same government who killed a lot of our black civil rights leaders, had them assassinated and murdered them. And all our black civil rights leaders were trying to say is, empower yourselves, black people. Empower yourselves. Do your own. Do the knowledge yourself. Research yourself. Especially now that it's as easy as taking our phones out of our pocket and going onto Google, DuckDuckGo, or any of the other web browsers or search engines. And Google can be questionable as far as a valid search engine is concerned. Not a valid one, but an unbiased search engine is concerned. We got to start doing this knowledge. We got to start doing the knowledge. We got to ask more questions. And damn, listen, in my experience, most people are just not comfortable with being asked questions. People see, fuck, you know what? This is exactly why I didn't raise my daughters or my children on this Disney bullshit. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. Life is no fucking fairy tale. Dr. Supreme Understanding wrote a children's book, and I've had my son reading this shit for the longest time. Hold on, because I want to make sure that Real Life is No Fairy Tale by Sujan Das. That's his honorable name. His righteous name is Supreme Understanding. He's written these, and many other books dealing with knowledge of self and actually learning how to be more of a critical thinker. Black God, an introduction to the world's religions and their black gods. The original man is the black man. The original woman is the black woman. Part of the Science of Self series. See my lying Buddha, my sleeping Buddha. Make the Hood Great Again. Several editions of National Geographic. I got a puzzle labyrinth over here that all the children under the age of 6 have managed to break one of the pieces off, so it serves more as something to enjoy the view. Serves that more. And that's it. Y'all drinking water? Are you drinking water? Are you eating right? Are you somewhat active? You can change the oil on your car, but can you perform the preventative maintenance that your body requires? I mean, I could do much better. I'll be the first to admit that. Yet, we got to do for self. We got to get ourselves in order. Instead of just following blindly. The blind leading the blind, as it was described. Yeah. It's kind of my plan as far as gentrification in the city is concerned. Once that train starts going, you either get out of the way or jump on board. Yet you can mitigate it. There are ways to mitigate gentrification. There are ways to mitigate what the hell is being rolled out right now regarding this vaccine, regarding the COVID virus. Things we can do, people we can talk to. Minister Louis Farrakhan said not to take this vaccine. He's not sure why. Doesn't understand why. But he said not to take it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad years ago gave instructions to not take the polio vaccine. He didn't understand exactly why. But what was the end result with the polio vaccine? Did it save some lives? Absolutely. But millions of people got cancer afterwards because of the vaccine. We got to think. Got to think, people. We got to think for ourselves. And if we don't know how to do that, we got to start practicing that. And I gave you some suggestions earlier. I said, go online. How to be a critical thinker. How to have intelligent conversations. How to agree to disagree. If you ask most old people, they'll tell you that they have lived their life. Because some people use the excuse that they want to be able to see their elders and so forth. God forbid they give them the virus, but I think most people, most older people in general, I think over 70, 80 years old, I think their opinion would be for us to live our lives as well and to continue to be free. Y'all want to overlook. Y'all think that history doesn't repeat itself, guys. Y'all really want to assume that history does not repeat itself. Well, history has been pretty consistent, at least for the last 2,000 to 4,000 years. History has been consistent. The lifeline, the lifetime of a great civilization is about 250 years. Modern day, right? Before, in Africa, there's history of civilizations lasting for thousands of years. That's not the case right now. So, I would like for more of us to really see where this is going, to really... We got to look behind the curtain, guys. We actively have to look behind the curtain. And most times when you do that, that's where you find the wizard, the real wizard. Manipulating the controls and such. If you watch The Wizard of Oz, them controls are huge. So I'm going to sign off. Think for yourselves. Look for people who might have not particular information, but look for people who can maneuver and think in different ways, certain ways. With that, I say peace. Take care of yourselves.